Before we begin, viewer discretion is strongly advised. The following is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is the real story from a court case about Sean Diddy Combs, as told by Inner City Press. The seventh day of Diddy's trial was supposed to be about Cassie, but then something crazy happened at 10:58 in the morning. 50 Cent, his real name is Curtis Jackson, walked into the courtroom. He didn't bring any friends or reporters. No one knew he was coming. He wore a gray suit and carried a thin black folder. He walked straight to the front and whispered something to the guard. Everyone gasped when the judge said that Curtis Jackson was ready to tell his story under oath. What 50 Cent said next wasn't just shocking, it was huge. He talked about Kim Porter, some files she had, and how she was scared of Diddy. His story was darker than any song or news story. This wasn't just a fight between rappers. This was someone saying Diddy killed someone, and he said it in court. The mood in the courtroom was already heavy before anything weird happened. It was the seventh day of the trial. Most people thought they would hear more sad stories from Cassie Ventura, some lawyer questions, and maybe some arguing between the lawyers and Diddy's team. But no one was ready for what happened next. At exactly 10:46 in the morning, the big wooden doors at the back of the courtroom opened with a creak. Everyone turned their heads. A tall man everyone knew walked in. He wore a nice dark suit with no tie. It was Curtis Jackson, 50 Cent. He didn't say anything. He didn't look at the reporters or the people sitting in the room. He walked like he had something important to do. Every step made noise in the quiet room. People in the room gasped. Even Cassie, who had stayed calm through days of hard questions, got stiff. Her eyes locked on 50 Cent as he walked to the front. The guard looked at the judge, who nodded once. The moment was allowed. Diddy was sitting at his table with his lawyers. He turned around slowly. At first, he didn't react. Then his face got tense. He leaned toward his lawyer and whispered something. His eyes stayed on 50 Cent. Cent walked up to the front and asked respectfully to tell his story under oath. He wasn't there for show, he said. No drama, no publicity. He came to tell the truth. Judge Harmon was curious but careful. She asked if he had any proof to support his story. 50 Cent lifted a manila folder from under his arm. Documents, screenshots, voicemails, and pictures, he said simply. The judge looked at what he brought. After a moment of quiet, she nodded. You may go ahead. Within seconds, every reporter in the room was typing fast. Text messages flew everywhere. Hashtags were made in real time. 50 testifies started trending before he even sat down to speak. But inside the courtroom, it was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. The man known for being loud, for making fun of people, for his public fights looked different now. He looked focused, careful, and very serious. I came here today not because I want to, he said, but because someone who trusted me is dead, and I think the truth needs to be told. Cent's first words as he sat down to speak shocked the room. Kim told me everything, he said. Their conversation started casually in 2017. Mutual friends, events, music business circles. We weren't best friends, he explained, but we respected each other. We had private talks. I was one of the few people she felt she could talk to without being judged. He told the court that during those private moments, Kim Porter opened up about her fear. He said she used the exact words, "If something happens to me, it won't be an accident." Then came the big shock. 50 Cent said that Kim had shown him screenshots of emails, backups of text messages, and a password-protected drive stored in a secret cloud folder. She let him hear voicemails. One in particular stood out. It was a message from an unknown number, threatening her to stop digging for things that don't concern you. According to 50 Cent, Kim believed Diddy was behind it. She didn't have proof of that specific call, he admitted, but she knew his patterns. She knew how he worked. Then he dropped another shocker. Kim had been writing a book about her life. She called it her redemption journal, he said. Not for fame, not for money, but so her kids would one day understand what she went through. But she was scared. According to 50 Cent, she told him Diddy had been following her movements. Her phones felt like they were being listened to. She noticed the same cars parked outside her house multiple days in a row. Security cameras inside her home would break without explanation. She said, "He's watching me. I can feel it." 50 Cent remembered. He paused. The jury leaned in. Cassie closed her eyes briefly as if taking in the weight of it all. She was scared of him, 50 Cent said. Terrified, actually, and she had good reason to be. He then told the court that Kim once showed him a screenshot of an Uber trip log. She claimed it was Diddy's assistant arriving uninvited at her house at 3:41 in the morning. She said he wasn't there to talk. He was there to remind her who was in charge. The lawyers asked if 50 Cent had saved any of this. He said yes. The judge allowed 3 screenshots and a dated voicemail to be shown. "I'm "I'm not here for drama," he said. "I'm here because Kim knew she wouldn't get justice while she was alive. Maybe now that she's dead, she finally can." As the courtroom leaned further into the growing storm, 50 Cent opened his manila folder and took out a printed email. "This one," he said, lifting the page, "came from Kim's former stylist." The stylist, whose name was kept secret for safety reasons, had been close to both Kim and Diddy for years. According to 50 Cent, the email was dated just 2 weeks before Kim's death. It warned Kim to stop working on her book. "Drop the book," it said. "He knows." That wasn't trying to scare her, 50 Cent told the jury. That was a warning from someone who'd seen too much. But the most shocking part of the email wasn't just the warning. It was a detail buried 3 paragraphs in. "He bought a gold casket a month ago for you." The courtroom fell deadly silent. 50 Cent said when he first read that line, he thought it was exaggerated. "But after she died, after I saw what she was buried in, I believed it." He told the court Kim had privately told him that she had footage, actual video files from Diddy's famous parties. He said she had tapes of him, of other men, of things I can't repeat in this courtroom. The footage, he claimed, was backed up to a hidden drive, a drive that mysteriously disappeared from Kim's home during what police later called a routine burglary. He paused and looked directly at the jury. That footage didn't vanish. It was taken. The lawyers asked if Kim ever named names. 50 Cent nodded. "Clive Davis, Andre Harrell, and someone else, a billionaire." Kim said she had them all on tape, not just talking, participating. According to 50 Cent, Kim knew releasing the footage would cost her everything. Her safety, her career, maybe even her life. "But she told me, if I go down, I'm not going down quiet." He ended this part with a scary quote Kim had written to him in a secret email. "If I disappear, if I die, if anything happens to me that feels off, you know who did it. You always will." And then slowly, he folded the paper and said, "Now the rest of the world will too." The courtroom got quiet as 50 Cent stepped back to the stand and asked the judge's permission to show a file Kim Porter had once shown him. It was titled simply, "Masters and Murders." With slow care, 50 Cent explained that Kim believed Tupac Shakur and Christopher Wallace, Biggie, were murdered not because of street fights, but through planned behind-the-scenes decisions made by powerful people in the music business. These people saw both men as too outspoken, too powerful, and too in control of their own musical rights. Kim, he claimed, discovered this through a series of voicemails, studio recordings, and conversations she overheard. "She told me in 2018, they plan to make icons out of dead men because dead men can't sue." The courtroom was stunned. 50 Cent said Kim once told him that during a trip to New York in the late 90s, she had overheard a closed-door conversation between Andre Harrell and another unnamed executive. In it, they were supposedly talking about how Tupac's influence was threatening the future of East Coast music industry control. She didn't have audio, but she kept notes, handwritten, dated, and signed by her. She knew too much, 50 Cent told the jury, and she had too much. When asked by the lawyers why she didn't go public, 50 Cent looked directly at the jury. Because she was scared, because she was outnumbered, and because she knew what happened to Pac and Biggie. He submitted printed copies of Kim's voice memos where she named names, Suge Knight, Andre Harrell, Jimmy Iovine, and suggested that they all knew Diddy had been involved in creating tension that helped escalate into bloodshed. Everything Biggie had, his publishing, his royalties, it got locked up when he died. That helped labels. That helped Diddy. The people in the room gasped. One juror wiped tears from her eyes. The rest leaned forward. The court was no longer just looking at Kim's death. They were beginning to suspect that she may have held the last remaining thread to solve one of the biggest unsolved mysteries in hip-hop history. When 50 Cent returned to the microphone for the 5th time, his tone changed. It was darker, heavier. He wasn't just talking about events. He was giving voice to what happened after a woman was silenced. "You heard what John Deal said," he began. "Kim wasn't found in her bed. She was found on the bathroom floor. But when the news broke, the official statement said she died peacefully in her sleep. That was a lie." He paused. "Then I got an email the night before her funeral from someone who claimed to have worked with the original coroner. They said the first autopsy showed traces of a poison that shouldn't be there. They didn't say what it was, just that it was flagged and that the full report got sealed." The judge allowed 50 Cent to submit a printed copy of the email with names blocked out. Attached to it was a statement from one of Kim's personal assistants. "She used to tell me, if I die suddenly, check the cameras, check the vents." 50 Cent also submitted photos of Kim's home being ransacked, supposedly taken the night of her death. 2 laptops missing, 1 backup drive gone, and a handwritten sticky note taped to a mirror that simply said, "Don't forget who you are." The jury was silent. Then 50 Cent dropped the next bomb. She had a book deal. It was done. Manuscript turned in. They were finalizing cover art. Next thing I know, that publisher went dark. Lawyers got involved. Everything stopped. And the book? It vanished. He showed a legal document sent by a company linked to Diddy's legal team. It instructed that any mention of Diddy be removed from the final manuscript or the publisher would face legal trouble. And just like that, the truth disappeared, 50 Cent said. The courtroom felt colder when 50 Cent brought up Diddy's obsession with gaining full custody of the twins. The courtroom's energy changed once again. It was no longer just about Kim's fear for her life. It was about her children's lives. "Kim told me straight up, if he ever gets custody, I'm done for. He'll have no reason to keep me around," he claimed. Kim was preparing to move quietly. New house, different name, private schooling for the girls in another state. She didn't tell Diddy. She didn't even tell most of her friends. But somehow he found out, Cent said grimly. He submitted a private investigator's report confirming that Diddy had flown from New York to Los Angeles 2 days before Kim's death. Flight records were time-stamped. Private jet manifest included Diddy, 2 assistants, and an unnamed legal consultant. According to a source close to Kim, Diddy showed up at her house the next day uninvited. Security cameras outside the house captured his arrival. Footage, 50 Cent said, was later lost. From that moment, Kim went silent, 50 Cent said. And 2 days later, she was gone. He showed the court a digital copy of a letter Kim had written to her lawyer in 2018, just months before her death. The letter included details of Diddy's increasingly crazy behavior, violent threats, and a clear warning. He said, "I'll never leave him without consequences." 50 Cent concluded this part of his story with a chilling final quote from Kim. "If anything happens to me, don't let him raise my girls." The courtroom was dead silent. Even Diddy stopped writing in his notebook. His hand fell limp. His gaze stuck to the floor. The jury, now visibly shaken, had heard enough for one day. But the trial was far from over. The courtroom had already heard plenty of disturbing claims from 50 Cent. But when he brought up the missing security footage from Kim Porter's home, everything got darker. Standing firm, 50 Cent addressed the judge and jury. Kim had security cameras installed not just outside but inside, in the hallway, the bedrooms, even facing her front door. He stated that Kim had told him during one of their last phone conversations that she'd become paranoid. She said, "They know I'm watching them. Now I've got proof stored in 2 places. 1 cloud, 1 hard drive. If something happens to me, they better not say it was pneumonia." Cent then handed over a sworn statement from a home tech contractor who serviced Kim's system 2 weeks before her death. The statement confirmed that the cameras were working perfectly and that the system was set up to automatically upload footage to a secure cloud account. But here's where it gets damning. The tech noticed that just 48 hours after Kim's death, the administrative credentials were accessed remotely from an IP address linked to Revolt Media, Diddy's own media company. That login didn't just view footage, it wiped files. When the LAPD asked for the recordings later, they claimed none were retrievable. "You're telling me she had a full surveillance system?" 50 Cent asked the courtroom. "And the only footage missing is the night she died?" He paused. "You know who had motive. You know who had access. And now you know who had the power to cover it up." The jury was visibly shaken. Juror 6 clenched her jaw. Juror 11 scribbled frantically. Diddy sat motionless, his lawyers whispering behind him. The implication was deafening. The truth may have been captured on camera, but someone made sure it disappeared. With the tension already boiling, 50 Cent dropped another bomb, a direct message from Kim Porter to her ex Al B. Sure just days before her death. She sent him a voice note, 50 Cent said. "You can't hear it now, but she said, and I quote, 'They know I'm going to talk. I'm scared.'" He then pulled up a screenshot, a message time-stamped just 48 hours before Kim was found dead. In it, Kim told Al B. "Sure, he keeps asking about my hard drive. I think he's planning something. If I disappear, it wasn't me." The court sat in stunned silence. Cent added, "Al B. Sure went public about this in 2020 on IG Live, but no one took it seriously. I did." The lawyers submitted that screenshot into evidence. Then came a twist no one was prepared for. 50 Cent said that 2 days after Kim's funeral, he received a private call from an unknown number. The voice on the other end simply said, "Back off, or you'll end up like her." According to investigators, the number was tied to a burner phone. That burner had been purchased in cash, but the SIM had pinged off a tower near a known bad boy office. In New York, the courtroom gasped. Cent stared at Diddy. "I don't scare easy," he said, "and I sure as hell don't back down when someone makes a threat." The judge asked if he had reported it. "I did," 50 Cent said, "and nothing happened. But now I'm saying it in court, in front of the jury. Let's see who tries to shut me up now." When it came time for 50 Cent's closing words, the courtroom leaned in. Every juror, every journalist, even Diddy himself. Cent took a deep breath and began slowly. "I'm not here because I need press. I'm not here for clout," he said, locking eyes with the jury. "I'm here because I owe it to Kim." He paced slowly as he spoke. Kim wasn't crazy. She wasn't reckless. She was a mother, a woman trying to protect her kids. She knew secrets. She knew things about Diddy that even his lawyers probably don't know. Then with unmistakable sharpness, he declared, "Diddy ain't just an abuser. He's not just controlling. He's dangerous." Kim told me face to face, "If anything happens to me, it's him." She was scared. She said he would ruin her or worse. 50 Cent submitted one last document, a signed memo from a former music label assistant detailing Diddy's obsession with cleaning up anyone who became a liability. The memo included a line, "He always says, 'Dead women don't talk.'" The courtroom froze. "I'm not a lawyer," 50 Cent said, "but I know what murder looks like when it's dressed in $1 million suit. Y'all got the evidence. Now do something with it." Then he turned to Diddy, walked past him slowly, stared him down. "You always thought I was playing chess," he said, voice like gravel. "Turns out I was holding the checkmate." Diddy didn't blink, but his face was blank. Not smug, not angry, just blank. And the jury saw it. The courtroom was silent as 50 Cent stepped down. Every eye followed him as he walked past Diddy's table. Diddy didn't flinch, but the tension between them was nuclear. This wasn't a rap beef. This wasn't trolling. This was testimony. Legal, under oath, and now part of the federal record. The judge called for a brief break, but nobody moved. Reporters were too stunned to speak. Jurors sat gripping the edges of their seats, and the lawyers looked like they had just been handed the final nail for the coffin they'd been building all week. And in the corner, quietly, a clerk slid the last document into the evidence folder. The voicemail 50 Cent said Kim Porter sent just 1 week before her death. A voice barely above a whisper recorded at 2:03 a.m. saying, "If they tell you I died of pneumonia, don't believe it. Check the cameras. Check the servers. If you're hearing this, he got to me." The courtroom would later learn this recording had been saved on a protected server. Not even Kim's family had known it existed, but 50 Cent did. He had protected it, just like he'd promised her. Outside, the media had already gone into overdrive. Hashtags like "Justice for Kim Porter" and "Diddy trial bombshell" trended worldwide. News tickers ran headlines that hadn't been possible even days earlier. 50 Cent testifies, "Diddy had Kim killed. Kim Porter predicted her own death and left behind proof." And Revolt Media, Diddy's once untouchable empire began to bleed. Stockholders called for emergency audits. Sponsors suspended contracts. Even longtime allies quietly removed collaborations from their websites and platforms. It was the slow collapse of a giant, not from a scandal, but from the avalanche of truth. Back in court, the jury sat in stunned silence. The case was no longer just about abuse. It was about erasure. A woman erased, a truth erased, and a media machine once bought and controlled finally out of Diddy's reach. The judge reconvened court and made it clear, all evidence submitted today will move forward to the next phase of this trial. No delays will be granted. This testimony will not be stricken. And that was it. As Diddy sat there, chin low, shoulders heavy, he looked less like the mogul who built Bad Boy and more like the man Kim warned everyone about. For the first time in his career, he had no microphone, no audience cheering, and no control. Just silence, the kind that follows truth finally being heard.